Hello and good morning. It is Wednesday, and we are here with NE1 World Showcase. I'm so excited to be here. I love talking to great indie creators, and NE1 World is where they are all coming. So today's guest is Thomas Hull. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. And he has this new coming comic. It's out, but it's new to anyone. And I'm so interested to pick his brain about his method and dark superheroes and all sorts of stuff. So let's welcome Tom from World at War Comics. Hello and good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Laurie. Thanks for having me. Super
Yeah,
excited to be with you again. I
I
enjoyed
know.
the last conversation. It was awesome. And you're amazing, by the way. So
Oh, thank you.
really enjoyed our conversation last time.
I will pay you $20 later.
I know.
What he's referring to, everybody, is that Tom also has a podcast that's like amazing called World at War Comics, and he's on a bunch of different channels. But I had the pleasure of going on his podcast to talk about Path of the Pale Rider. So we're good buddies at this point because we've hung out, but now we're flip flopping, and I get to ask all the questions, and Tom gets to like let me pick his brain.
Love it.
Good
Love
morning, Creators Outlet. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Trader's Outlet.
Yeah. So, Tom, tell me about how you got into comics. I would like to hear everybody's origin story when they first come on.
Yeah. I mean, I've loved comics since probably around 9 or 10 years old. I was fortunate. I grew up in San Bernardino in Southern California, and we had a comic book store bike riding distance from my house. So, I started watching. I was big into WWF, which is WWE now, but at the time, really into WWF. Loved GI Joe. That was probably my thing. That and Transformers. And someone said, there's a comic book about that kind of stuff. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So that was my first entrance into comic books. We rode our bikes up there because we heard that GI Joe was a comic book,
Yeah.
and went up there and got my first GI Joe comic book. I come from a really big military background with my family, and I also picked up Nom, which I believe was Marvel, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a comic book called Nom. They ended up doing about 60 or 80 issues. So it was a pretty long running
Yeah.
comic book. Definitely not like for a 9-year-old probably, but I loved it because I was really into military. My dad was in the Marines. Both my grandparents fought in World War II. So yeah, just a big part of my life. And so I picked up GI Joe. I picked up Nom, and fell in love with comic books. And, all of a sudden this whole world of Spider-Man and Superman and everything came forth, and fell in love with it. And I rode my bike up there every week. I had a paper route from when I was about 9 years old until about 19 years old. So I did it for a very long time. And yeah, I'd save my money.
That's your
Really
comic
good
book
tips.
money.
That was my comic money. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I got into comic books. And then, I think like all of us, right? If you started young reading comic books, you started creating your own characters and thinking of ideas. And so me and my friends would create little flip books and whatnot. And it was a stage that I was in. And then eventually, I continued to read comic books, but it became less and less part of my life. And,
Hmm.
you get
Girls.
married.
This is the typical story. Comic book as a kid, and then it's like discover girls, go away from comic books for a little bit,
Yeah,
become an adult, get married, have kids, come back to comic books.
exactly. Yeah. Which was shocking to my wife because she didn't realize how much I love comic books. But
Really?
yeah,
You kept that a secret. Oh.
did. And then obviously it turned into a lot of other things as well with action figures and all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, I've loved comic books as long as I can remember. And, I'm getting close to 50 years old now, and I've always wanted to create my own comic book. And I've had a story for about 5 years or so that's kind of been brewing in the back of my mind. And my wife said, look, the kids are all adults, and I don't know.
Now's the time.
Now's the time. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we could afford to do it. Knock yourself out. I don't think she realized how expensive it was.
Oh, well, that's half the problem. Is nobody ever knows what they're getting themselves into.
100%.
That it's really a full-time job and a financial commitment, to make these things happen. So we're
Yeah.
on this naive, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing, and then you get in there and you're like, this is more than I thought it would, but we're too stubborn to quit at this point. Like, we're in it, we're doing this thing. It's happening.
Exactly. I told my wife I have a 4 part arc that I would like to do.
Cool.
And if at the end of the 4-part arc, we could get to a point where, through Kickstarter, most of it's being funded, then I'll continue. If nobody wants it, then I could say that I wrote my own comic book, and that's a
Right.
cool thing for me to be able to say, because I love comic books and I'll still be a fan and I'll go back to reading like I always have. So not a problem.
Well, and I mean, like, some books come into their own as time goes on. There's been books out there that are, always ahead of their time, like Sandman by
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman. It's like when that came out, it was so different than anything else.
Yeah.
So, the fact that you're doing it and maybe it finds its happy place 5 years from now, you never know. You
Good point.
never know. But the fact that you're doing it is amazing to me. You know what I mean? That we're all in this together in this small press kind of jump where it's like both feet first and we're going to figure it out and we're going to do this thing until either people don't want it or I just give up. Once
Pretty
it
much.
stops being fun, right? And then we'll stop. I'm still having fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you're talking about this 4-part arc,
Mhm.
4-part meaning
Four
um
issues. Four-issue
4
arc.
issues.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, how many? Because when I talk about my arc, I'm
No.
like, there's 12 books in there. So how many books are so you have 4 planned
Yeah.
for Kingsville?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously there's an opening for more, but
I was gonna say, I'm
the
sure.
promise to my wife was, look, let me do 4 issues. Let me get that out. Then I can put it into a trade. And
Yes.
then if it doesn't do well, then I know I'm
Girls.
not a very good comic book writer, and I'll go back to reading and enjoying, and I just love it. So I'm okay with that. It's okay. I scratched that itch, and it's been fun, and hopefully it does well. But if not, it's okay. I'm good. I'm good.
I I think there's an audience out there for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that if you are striving to better yourself at your craft,
Yeah,
that the growth will be apparent as you continue to go.
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah,
But you're gonna find an audience. The longer you do it, the more people will find you,
yeah.
right?
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yes, and I agree with Hugo. The fact that it's a passion project for folks and they jump in without the whole business plan is like it's like a regular business is meaningful. It's like we have passion. We want to make sure that that these things see the light of day. And
Yeah,
to me, it's like this is my place where I get to live forever because
yeah,
there'll be a piece of me left behind when I die. Let people can still
exactly.
read and enjoy Path of the Pale Rider or
Yeah,
Kingsville. We can enjoy those long after we're gone. Hopefully,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I just love it. I love everything about comic books. I love the panels. I love the story and the art. I love the the words on the there's so much that goes
Yeah.
in the story, right? Only about 50% of it is actually me. My amazing artist Dan does such a good job of helping to tell the rest of that story, and just that combination that makes comic books so special is what I love. And like Hugo said, man, it's just a passion. This is why we do it. We love it.
Mhm.
It's certainly a hobby, but something that I really love, and I'm okay investing into something like that I love, right?
Absolutely. So talk about your artist team.
hmm It's
Who
one guy.
it's one guy.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right.
Yeah.
He does
So
everything.
he does everything. So I've been very fortunate to find Dan. I think a lot of comic book creators, right? We have this fear of finding an artist, and then the artist isn't who you thought it was, and all of a sudden you've started a project, and you're like, oh my goodness, the art isn't exactly what they had originally sent me, and it's not looking up to par, or
Mhm.
they're very flaky, and they come and they go, and so all these different things, right, really scare the heck out of you. So when you
Oh yeah.
find something really good, you want to you want to partner with them and treat them really well, and make sure that, okay,
Right.
this is a 4-issue arc that I would love to get
Right.
done. Are you okay with that? And can we really partner on this? And so when you find that person, you want to do everything you can to ensure that they feel comfortable and that they're aligned with everything that you're doing, because you don't want to lose them. Because I think as a reader, right, you could tell, like when I'm reading Marvel or DC, and I love that different artists come and go, but sometimes you're like, man, it just changes the whole story when that artist left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to be able to get through these 4 issues with the same artist, and I found Dan,
How'd
and
you meet
he's been
Dan?
amazing. I met him through Reddit. So there
Oh.
are a couple different areas within Reddit that you can meet different comic book artists. And so, just like interviews, I was meeting a lot of people and going through their work. And I've had a lot of different artists that have helped me also with like character development. So I tell them what I want. I kind of do a drawing, and then they take it, and they obviously, because they could draw and I can't, they could turn it into something more amazing. And I found Dan, and we just hit it off. I love his art. I love his art style. I think he's really good at what he
Oh yeah.
does, and he does it all. So I mean, he does the penciling, the inking, the colors, everything. And so I get a finished page, and then I'm doing the
Wow.
lettering, which you probably could notice. I'm trying to get
No,
better at.
but that to me makes perfect sense. I do the same
Yeah.
because I'm the script writer, right? So if I get a beautiful page and I'm like, my dialogue's not gonna, I can adjust the dialogue without having to have a letterer touch it 2 and 3 times. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So to me that makes perfect sense because it's their script is always going to evolve
Yeah.
depending on the pages that are turned in. So I feel
Yeah.
you on that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of times the pages will come back from Dan, and it wasn't exactly what I was um intending it to be, but then most of the time it's better
It's
than what I
better,
intended.
right.
When it comes back, you're like, well, I'm going to change up the script a little bit. That
Yes,
way
to
there's a little
fit.
bit more of a connection with the artwork. And I just enjoy that. I just love that. So you have to be super flexible, right?
Yes.
And because I'm willing to be that flexible, and Dan is so amazing that it seems to work over the first 2 issues so far. We're already about 6 pages into issue 3. So far, so good. Fingers crossed. Right?
Yeah, yeah. So why don't we elevator pitch Kingsville to the people that are watching?
Yeah, let's do that. So, Kingsville is an island. It's an island nation north of the continent, and within that continent, there's about 35 different nations. Kingsville is a very cold nation. It's under mostly snow and ice for about 7 months of the year. The rest of the time, right, it's a mining and fishing community, but it's
Mm,
an old community with a lot of history. And one of the elements that they find when mining, um, they don't realize it, but it contains a lot of power. It's called Faradone. And
mm.
there is a nonprofit organization within the continent called the Alliance for Global Safety. They're bringing nations together, doing all these amazing things for these nations with
I don't buy it.
trade agreements. Yeah, exactly. With trade agreements and safety and all these different things, and they get their hands through Kingsville of this mineral, and they find out it has really unique properties. And those properties, when their science team get a hold of it, they realize you could create superhuman abilities with it. And so they start to create superhumans with this mineral. And their promise to the nations that join them is that you will have a superhuman that we will give you for your nation to help with safety and all these other things. So outwardly, it looks amazing.
Mm.
You have these superheroes in each nation that are doing great things on the outside. But what they don't realize is AGS is actually utilizing these superhumans to do a lot of evil things that allow them to gain a lot more power. And, people are starting to realize they might not be what they say they are. Kingsville is retracting. They don't want to give them this mineral. They're
Yeah.
kind of lying and saying that, look, we don't have it anymore. Kingsville knows they do. So it becomes this kind of
Power struggle.
power struggle
Uh-huh.
between this element that they need to continue to add more nations to this alliance that they've created. And then they have this nation saying, look, I don't trust you. I don't think you're doing the right things with the power that you've already gained. And so this friction starts to build up. And you'll see at the end of issue 2, which was just released, that things are getting really bad. So yeah, on the outside, everything looks
Oh,
wonderful. Most people don't realize what's going on, but internally, even within AGS in the science department, there is Rodrigo who leads the science department. He's starting to notice things too, and he doesn't feel good about what he has created for AGS. So you have all this tension going
yeah.
on, and things are about to explode.
I have so many questions. First of all, I just want to say, Chris 9 strings,
Chris,
that's what I'm
yes,
assuming that says, because I
man,
think
right
it's,
there.
Roman numeral 9. Kingsville 1
Yes.
and 2 are great. It's heating up going into issue 3. This means war. Someone has the inside scoop here.
Yes.
Um, but
Anybody that backed have just received the PDF version or the digital version of
yeah.
issue 2, and Chris and Wes are a couple of those gentlemen that have. So they have already picked up on the story. So Chris, thanks for joining.
I wanted to show off this dude.
Yes.
And this is what I said to Tom when I saw this image. I was like, "This looks like, um, Kingpin wearing an X-Men suit, um, what the heck?" I
Yeah.
was like, "What is going on here?" And of course, he's covered in blood. So obviously, we have determined that this is not kid appropriate based
Yeah.
off of the cover. I would say probably an older audience is who we're
Yeah.
targeting here.
I've also been told that Invincible has been so popular with the new TV series that have come out on Prime,
That's
and everyone said, "Look, if Invincible ever kind of gave up, that's probably what he would look like in his costume."
yeah, I see that. That's the color of his costume too.
Yeah.
Amazing. I was like, obviously he has some kind of I don't know if that's a restraint or body armor. Like, I'm really
Yeah, it's
interested.
a little bit of a body armor that goes around that allows him. So his superpower is he's called collapse because he could collapse into like a pool of liquid. So he's a
Oh,
really big, huge guy, not very fast, not very nimble. But once he collapsed to liquid, obviously he can go under doors, he can move very fast, go up walls, and so that harness allows him to kind of collapse and then come back into form.
but his powers are generated inside of his body because of the chemical change, not from
Correct.
the
But this helps his suit be able to do
gotcha.
exactly what his
I
body's doing. Yeah.
because his body can do it, but then he'd be like running around nude.
Yeah.
Suits back there, didn't make it under the door. That would be
Exactly.
scary. Ah! This giant naked man is running at me. But I just wanted to show off some of the beautiful art that's in here. What is the name of your artist again? Dan?
Yanzai.
Dan Zay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just beautiful, beautiful. I love the color in this. I can see your influence, from some of the Saturday morning cartoons in here. I mean, it's just wow.
Yeah. Dan
Really
is just,
nice.
I love him. He is just so good at what he does.
The
Yeah. I really
backgrounds,
enjoy it. I got very fortunate that
right?
we're
Look,
connected.
Hugo. I mean, Hugo knows. Good morning, George.
Thank you,
How are
William.
you? Hey, George. So, yeah, I definitely wanted to show this off because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty.
So this is issue 1. Um, yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of characters that are pretty important to the story, including Dr. Derrickson right there. He
Yeah,
is head of AGS, the Alliance for Global Safety, and he is kind of
this
the,
guy,
yeah, he's a pretty evil dude, man.
he doesn't look shady at all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, got the little cigar going. He doesn't
Mm,
mess around. Yeah.
yep.
The next page is actually a map of
The
Kingsville, so you
island.
get an idea of what it
Yeah,
looks like. Yep.
that's why I wanted to show that. That's so cool. And look, here's the rare mineral on the table.
Yeah.
Michigan mining, 8 months of brutal winters. It sounds like Michigan.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
gonna pass on that. Don't wanna go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. You escaped the island, Laurie.
Yes, I did. I escaped the mitten. That was the
Yeah. There you
goal.
go.
So let's talk about script wise. Sorry, I gotta change the camera because my really there we go. Now I
Yeah.
can see you.
Yeah. It's so weird.
This
Yeah.
StreamYard hates me, people. That's
Yeah.
what happens. So when you write your story, are you written all the way through the 4 issues? I'm assuming those are done.
It's outlined, but I definitely go back as we start to do the art, and I go into a lot more detail. But yeah, I have kind of an outline, just in a regular, like a pad of paper, just like this right here. So I
Yeah.
have my outline built out for all 4 issues. Not in super detail. I kind of have the story aligned, but then I go page by page as I start to work on each issue, and that'll determine whether it's 24, 28, whatever those pages end up being. But yeah, for the most part, the story arc, which is the first 4 issues, story arc 1,
Yeah.
is is pretty much done in my mind and on paper in a general way. 3 and 4. Right now, like you said, the artist comes back, you have an idea, you send them, okay, here's pages 4 through 8, and then you get pages 4 through 8, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back and make some
Yeah.
adjustments because that came out a lot better than I thought it was going to in my mind, right?
Right.
Because I'm not a great artist. And so, yeah, I make adjustments. But yeah, for the most part, the script is done. I do it panel by panel. So in my
Yeah.
mind, I
That
kind of
was
have an idea of how many panels I would like. Of course, Dan will come back and he'll add an extra panel or two,
mhm.
which is awesome because he makes it look not so generic. So in my mind, it just blocks and I'm just building
Yeah.
up comics.
There's so much they can do, though.
Yeah, it's like, that's so boring. No,
I
let's
know.
do
And Dan's
this
like,
here.
I'm gonna change all this around. It's good.
That's all good, and he makes me look a lot better than I'm actually at,
But I know it's collaboration.
for
And
sure.
that's great. That's kind of where I wanted to lead is like the relationship between you guys. Like how do you turn in a script to Dan?
Yeah,
How much information does he take from that and translate it into the art? So if
yeah.
you're giving him like the comic book script, so page, panel,
Mhm.
description, dialogue,
Yep,
but then it sounds like he still has the freedom to go in and make adjustments where
100%.
he sees fit. That's
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
if there's something that's, like, crucial to what I'm trying to get across, then I'll say, "Hey, Dan, on this panel, it really needs to look like this."
Yeah.
The rest of it, do what you think will help enhance that, but that panel right there is gonna be crucial because 5, pages down the road, this is gonna happen, right? What's unique about my relationship with Dan, he's Russian, he lives in Moscow,
Okay.
and so his English is, better than my Russian, I'll say that, but minimal, right? So a lot of our back and forth is really just via email, text, Instagram, that type of thing. Yeah, he's 23 years old. Just turned 23,
Amazing.
young guy, but just I think very talented for his age. Just incredible. You could
Yeah.
follow him on Facebook. He is on Facebook under Dan Zay. And you'll see some of the artwork that he's done for others as well, which is really good. But yeah, so the back and forth, there's a lot of back and forth via email for the most part. But yeah, he's awesome. I love him. Good kid.
That's awesome.
I have kids older than him, so I can say that.
Yeah, it's like I know. This artist to turn out those pages is 23. What have I
Yeah, isn't that
done with my life?
crazy? I know.
Well,
I agree with
well,
you, Hugo.
that's that's the coolest thing about comics, I think, is that
Yeah,
you find it when you find it, and there's a place for you no matter what age you are. But yeah,
yeah,
I would consider that prodigy. When
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Good find. And I can totally understand Tom when he was like, I just want to make sure he stays around for all 4
Yeah,
issues because he's really
yeah.
good at what he does. Right? I
I
get
mean,
that.
that's always the fear, right? You switch to another artist and they're like, "Did your,
What?
your 5-year-old take over? What happened to your comic book?"
You're like, we're going in a different direction. Fire this guy.
A really bad one.
Oh Lord.
Yeah,
I just want to remind people if you have a story inside you, just like Tom does,
yeah.
you can bring it on over to any one world. There's a place for you. This is how you do it. We're going to listen to Mr. Morgan Quaid.
If you're an indie creator looking for a home for your comic book, graphic novel, short story collection, or novel, then you've come to the right place. NE1 World is a full-service publisher and distributor which can take your creator-owned project and showcase it to the world. We offer 2 primary distribution channels. Digital distribution, where we'll sell your book in our digital bookstore. Digital and print distribution, where we'll sell your book in our digital bookstore and distribute through physical bookstores across the UK, USA and Canada. In addition to distribution, NE1 World can also work with you to publish your book. We'll publish your book digitally, helping you source artists, edit, format and publish your book in digital format. Digital and print. We'll publish your book digitally and produce and distribute print copies of your work. Digital, print and merch. We'll publish digital and print copies of your book and then work with you to design or distribute products and add-ons such as t-shirts, posters and more. On top of all of this, we can offer additional paid services where required, specifically cover design, editing and formatting. Unlike many traditional publishers, NE1 World gives indie creators maximum control and flexibility over publishing and distribution. So if you're looking to partner with us to distribute existing books or publish something new, read carefully through the information below and fill out a submission form.
Thank you, Morgan, for your beautiful voice. I look forward to it every week.
That is pretty amazing.
He does such amazing work, like music wise, vocal recording. All his comics are amazing. Like he writes novels, he does the cover art for his novels. Like he just is nonstop. He just is
Yeah,
always moving. I had him on my Tuesday morning brew show, and I gotta tell you, like I was just flabbergasted by how many things this guy does. And he's like, I'm not gonna Kickstarter. And then we were talking about it. And then like the next week, he's like, Laurie Calcaterra made me do this. And I was like, I don't blame it on me, dude. Like if you're going to Kickstarter, that's on you.
yeah.
But we had a good laugh. So
You got an
thank
incredible
you.
radio voice, though.
I
Amazing.
know some people just have that, right? My husband's voice is like that,
Oh,
where it's
really?
like, it's great for radio. People always assume he looks way different than what he does. They meet him in person, they're like, "This is not what I pictured for your voice."
I've been told I have a face for radio, but I'm not a
Oh,
voice.
ouch. Like, that's not nice. This is the part of the show where we have a short dance break. Are you ready? Okay, dance break over. Welcome to NE1 World website, everybody. It's NE1world.com. Just want to make sure y'all know that you can get all of our books here right off of this website. And I love that we have these new buttons here. And Tom's book is going to be found right here in the titles coming soon. Do you have a launch date when it's going to go live on NE1?
I'll have to talk to Hades. Issue
Mhm.
1 is ready to go live whenever the
Cool.
button's pushed. So I'll have to talk to him about that. And I just sent over issue 2. So hopefully both of those will be on very soon.
Exciting. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah.
And Hades is not busy at all. No,
About all
no,
this, you know?
no, especially like me emailing him, texting him, messaging him every day. I'm like, "Dear Hades, I need
Yeah.
some more attention." He's like, "Oh Lord, not Laurie again, I'm sure." But here we are. It's Kingsville. Look at this beautiful cover with collapse on there. And I'm again scary. This is scary to me. But beautiful, and it's in the coming soon section. There's so much good stuff. Oh, look, there's me. I forgot that was there. But lots of really good stuff. Please go shop around. Remember that on NE1 World, we always run different. Did I show the
You didn't
page? Or did I
show it.
not click on
Yeah.
it? How let me actually click the button for Pete's sakes. Laurie, come on. Catch up. But here it is in the coming soon section. So there's all sorts of good stuff here. But as you can see, NE1 is hopping, man. There's so many amazing things. And I'm looking forward to like so many people I haven't talked to yet on the NE1 World Showcase. This is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
So please, if you have a story in you, let's get it out. Let's go
Yeah.
talk.
Exactly.
Let's go talk. Come on the show. Let's get you into here. But remember that there are sales, there are minis, there's always like we have coupon codes, we have all sorts of deals that Hades is going to be running. It's just amazing stuff coming on. So you definitely want to come check out the website often because all the updates and new releases will be here. Gig has been relaunched for everybody who's not heard of Gig. It's Global Indie Group. This is an amazing tool where you can have access to a whole list of people that are in indie and that are reliable. Hades has done the work for you to make sure that these people are legit. So like I'm sure Tom and I are both listed in the podcaster section. There's artists, writers, editors, so much that you can tap into with the Global Indie Group subscription. So it's really cool. He made it one convenient package and you can access it right from the website now. So, oh, look, let's see. Russ, 5377. You can get at 50% off all 6 issues. That's amazing. And you can buy issue 1 of Baylor, get issue 2 for free. Their issue 3 is coming out soon as well. So lots of good stuff there. Make sure, I'm going to switch the camera. Make sure that you spend time looking around, go shopping, right?
Absolutely.
So now I have more questions for you about your story, if we're cool with that.
Yeah.
One thing that you and I had talked about on your show is research.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, your story is like government espionage, the behind the scenes, mining and chemicals and all sorts of fun stuff. So what did you research?
Well, without getting political, a lot of things have happened over the last 5 years that I think today we're starting to realize maybe the truth behind some of these things that were happening might not have been up to par. And so, and as you start to look at history, specifically U.S. history, we're starting to see a lot of that come forth. And again, every country has this. This is not a right or left thing. I think it happens everywhere. But When you get a lot of power, it takes a very special type of person who's able to handle and manage that kind of power. And I'll be honest with you, I'd be nervous to have that kind of power myself, because I think it changes people.
Yes.
And so it's really scary to know that a group of people have the power that they have, and they might not be utilizing it in a way that benefits people. And so you look at the pharmaceutical industry, you look at the military complex, you look at, governments around the world. They're all vying for more and more power. They're all vying for more and more resources to help supply that power. And so I just took all those ideas. It wasn't one thing that happened, but certainly COVID kind of put a lot of this stuff to the forefront. And so all these different things that are going on around the world, I've grabbed a little bit of everything and brought it into this story. So yeah, I mean, I just watched the news, and all of a sudden I just start popping in my head like, holy crap, man, that would make a really good comic book,
Oh, inspiration is everywhere.
It's everywhere, especially with governments. I love history, specifically U.S. history. I studied it in college, and in the time when things are taking place in the present, it's really hard to kind of understand what's right and wrong. But 10 years down the road, a lot of times you can look back and say, that not that they intended it to be that way. I don't know. Maybe they did. That's in my book. They do. But you look back and you realize either we were told a lie, or they didn't realize the ramifications of what they were doing. So either one, right? There's still, people still get hurt and things still happen that are negative. So I took that energy and that those issues, and I created Kingsville out of that. It's
interesting to me too, like, people don't realize the slippery slope that they're on at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like how one step leads to the other, which leads to the other, which then leads to the catastrophic disaster. But if you look back, there was baby steps that got you there. And then it's like you almost don't realize what path you're on until it's too late.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I feel like the gap between people with power and everyone else continues to get farther and farther away from one another.
Yeah.
And the further away that becomes, I think the worse it is for the citizenry. So in Kingsville, it's the same thing.
In comics and in real life, people.
Yeah, in comics and in real life, right? So obviously I'm exaggerating a lot of these things, or maybe not, I don't know, but I'm exaggerating for the most part, and that makes I think a really good story for a comic book.
It's like if things start to follow Kingsville in the real world, we're in trouble. But at least that way, like, Kingsville can almost be like a warning. We could read it and be like, oh my God, I'm seeing this. I wonder if, what else?
You never know. I could be the new Simpsons, where everything has been revealed.
Right, this was predicted in Kingsville episode 1. Like,
exactly.
That's hilarious. All right, so issue 1 is currently done. Issue 2 is currently done.
Yes.
Both will be available on NE1 World Showcase, or excuse me, NE1 World website. I can talk.
Correct.
And then issue 3 has started production, correct?
Correct. We're 6 pages in.
Gotcha.
So Dan is working right now on pages, and we're just kind of going back and forth. But yeah.
When do you expect that? I mean, estimate, obviously, we're not saying like what day is it coming out, but
I'm hoping by May, issue 3 will be done, and we'll do a Kickstarter in May is what I'm targeting. So if not sooner, but May I think is safe. Last year, issue 1 came out in April, May, and I had a surgery last year, and so things just happened, and it got a little slow. But anyways, issue 2 just dropped, and then I'm hoping to get 3 issues done this year. That way, next year I could go into a trade, and then we'll see how people receive it. Yeah.
I know, Tom. That's where I'm at. I'm like, oh, panic.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, I'm trying not to put much pressure on me. Like, I'm working on it. I'm being very diligent about it, but they'll come out when they come out.
Right.
Issue 3, I am targeting May, because I want people to know that if they are, invested in the story. I want them to know that there is going to be some finality to the story that they're reading. I don't want to lead people on. So May, I'm pushing really hard for May because that's what I'm telling people it's going to be done. So I want to be true to that. And then I'm hoping by like November, 4 will be done. And it'll be a lot of fun. And then we're doing a short story about Collapse that will be in the trade as well. So you'll get the 4 issues, and then you'll get like a 10 to 12 page story just about Collapse and how he became who he is and his upbringing.
Gotta love that bonus content. That's what people eat up in those trade paperbacks. So
exactly. You gotta have something that makes you excited, right?
Yeah. Here's your tagline: Kingsville, your tour guide to
I love it. That's awesome, man.
Your cautionary tale, the social downfall. Hugo's great. He comes up with the best lines, man.
Those are awesome. Yeah.
All good things.
Yeah.
So that's a plan. Do you plan on doing any Comic-Cons or store visits, or where can people find you in person?
So in person, I live in Southern California. So most of the stuff that I've been doing has been in Southern California.
Yeah.
So there's been several Comic-Cons last year that I did that are smaller and local. I did a few comic book signings, March. Not this first, I think it's the 9th is the Saturday, or the 6th is the Saturday. I can't remember. I think it's the 6th. I will be at Kamikaze in San Diego. I'll look right now. But
the 6th is I know the 5th is a Tuesday because that's my birthday. So the 6th is a Wednesday. So 7 and 9. So that would probably be the 9th.
9th.
Yeah.
So March 9th, I'll be down in San Diego. I live about 2 hours from San Diego, but I'll be in San Diego at Kamikaze, which is an awesome comic book store. And I'll be down there doing a signing from 1 to 5. And then my local comic book store, Diggers Comics and Collectibles here in Hemet. We're still putting out the dates. If you follow me at World at War Comics, you'll be able to see when I'm signing here. I always do signings here. Me and Ambrose are good friends. He actually is the editor for my comic book. So he's been a huge help. He's a cartoonist, incredible cartoonist, and has been a cartoonist for 25, 30 years. So you could follow him as well. But a lot of fun. You could follow him at Diggers Comics and Collectibles or In Your Face Studios. But he's awesome. And he's been a huge help to me because he's been in the industry for so long. And he's kind of giving me warnings like, don't do this. And if you're going to do this, make sure you do that. And it's been a huge help to me.
Those I love people like that are willing to share information. They're just a gold mine of information, and hopefully they pay it forward. It's like, I will bribe you. Do you want cookies? Do you want, you want free comics? Like, what do you want? What do you want? I'll give it to you so we can, I can pick your brain somewhere.
100%. I'm glad for me.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up World at War Comics. That's the name of your kind of studio, but it's also, you have a podcast on YouTube, and it's on pretty much every social media. It's World at War Comics, so people can follow you. But how long have you been podcasting for?
A little over a year. So I started, I think, in March of it's been a little bit, maybe January of last year. I have 126 episodes. We're doing about 2 a week. I try to do. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. To be honest, there's 2 parts to the podcast. One, I love comic books, and I love meeting people like yourself, Laurie, that I've had on the show, because I really love indie comics. So I'm a big Marvel and DC fan, mainly DC, but I love Marvel too. But my passion is really independent comics, has been for a while. I just think the most unique stories that are taking place in comic books right now are happening in indie comics. And so I just love it. So when I wanted to start my own comic book, to what you had just said, I needed a lot of advice. Ambrose has been huge, but I thought maybe I'll start a podcast. So one, I could help highlight the industry that I love, which is indie comics. So I could bring people on, let them talk about it, and hopefully over time build up an audience that would, pay it forward and be able to allow these creators to increase their fan base. And then selfishly, as I'm doing these interviews, I'm getting a lot of help, right? I'm asking questions about, like, how did you do this? Why did you do that? What is your process? How far do you work ahead? Like, all these different questions.
Yeah.
Selfishly, that's for my own benefit, right? And I'm getting a lot of help by doing a podcast. So, it's twofold, and it's been a lot of fun, and we've had some amazing folks on.
I 100% agree with what you just said, because same thing. Like, I never thought that I would be hosting a podcast, but I've met such amazing people. And
Yeah.
when we talk shop, I'm like, I'm gonna write this down. Like, I need to know this. And when you get people that are specialized in certain things, it gives us the opportunity to just like pick their brain.
Yeah.
And hopefully, share information with not just us, but our viewers too. And 100% agree. Indie is like where all the new ideas are. We're not getting regurgitated stuff at this point. You know what I mean? Hollywood being Hollywood, it's like we've seen enough. Give
Yeah.
us something new. It's
Yeah.
here. It's here in the indie scene.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I think there is a creative void that is taking place in Hollywood. So there's a lot of different reasons why so many movies are failing, but I just think there's just a lack of creativity, and a lot of the stuff that's coming out is part 2, part 3,
yeah,
part 4, or it's Ghostbusters 9. How
right.
many more of these can we do, right? It just
Things we never asked for,
yeah,
right? It's like,
exactly.
the great example to me is A Quiet Place.
Yeah,
The first movie was great, but it was intended to be a one and done.
yeah,
But Hollywood was like, "This made so much money. John Krasinski, will you write us another one?" And at first he was like, "Well, no, it was just supposed to be a one and done." They're like, "Okay, but just so you know, you were our first pick. If you don't write it, we will find someone else to write it."
yeah,
And so he wrote it. He had no intention of doing it, but he was like, "This is my baby. If I don't write it, the studio is gonna let someone else write it, and they're gonna butcher it."
yeah,
And was it good? Not really,
yeah, yeah.
and now they're making another one. Did we ask for that?
Well, as long as the money is there,
That's
Hollywood, they're going to jump all over wherever the money is at. So
exactly.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean that's where indie comics come in. It's just been so much fun to meet, like you said, all these amazing creators and to hear their stories and how those stories came about and their intentions
Yeah.
around those stories. It's just been a lot of fun to understand.
Absolutely. Let's see. Excellent interview as always. Great looking book. Absolutely great looking book. Oh, George, have to get back to work. Take
Yeah.
care, chatmates. And yes, I get to see George this weekend. He's coming to Texoma.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, in Durant, Oklahoma. He's from New York, so I'm excited. He's coming down. I think he's going to stay with his buddy Sam Vera, who will be there, and there's going to be a ton of people there. So I'm looking forward
nice.
to taking a selfie with George. And
Sweet.
then Hugo says, "Nobody tell Thomas." But when he's getting his answers to his questions, he's helping everybody. Yes, 100%. We're like, "By the way, tell us all your trade secrets. Share them with the
Exactly.
world." And of course, have a good day, George.
Yeah.
Why don't we reiterate your socials one more time, just so everybody knows what platforms you're on? They are in the show notes for everybody. But just as a reminder, please come follow Tom and World at War Comics. He's everywhere, so it's very easy. Make sure you subscribe to his podcast. There's a ton of really good creators on there. And then, of course, come get Kingsville comic from NE1 World website when it goes live. Issues 1 and issue 2 will be available really soon. So go ahead
Awesome.
with your socials.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on, like you said, I'm on everything. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, even a weird one, Clapper. I didn't know what that was, but I joined it and I'm on there. So I got that one. I'm on what's the other new Instagram one? I can't remember what it's called.
There's Threads.
Ads.
You had Blue Sky listed. I was like, oh, Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I haven't been
So
on that one.
I'm on everything, and then obviously YouTube is where all of my interviews go. We do unboxings. I am a big McFarlane collector. Todd McFarlane has meant a lot to me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Image Comics, when they exploded on the scene, had such an impact on me because at that time I'd kind of walked away from comics for a little bit, and they drew me back in. So
Yeah.
I loved it. So yeah, anyways, I do a lot of unboxing, a lot of action figure talk, as well as comic book stuff. A lot of interviews of a lot of great people that work for Marvel, DC, Image, Mad Cave, and then a lot of independent creators like you and I. So I try to do a blend between both. I think it's really important that we get the Jeff Johns and the Todd McFarlanes on the show because it draws in more audience. And then that audience gets exposed to all these other creators from the indie side. So I think a good blend of both of those will help all the indie creators hopefully expand their audience base.
100%. And again, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really enjoyed Kingsville, and you're just the best. I love being on your podcast, And Tom is just an all around great guy. So make sure you guys follow. And we will see you all next week with another indie creator. I'm looking forward to showcasing more from NE1 World.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.